The war games were a symphony of controlled chaos, and the Allied command bunker in West Germany was its soundproofed hall. Banks of radar scopes painted a luminous ballet of friendly green and hostile red icons. Captain Anya Shaw watched the dance, her mind parsing the patterns. Then the music stopped. It began with a quiet, digital sigh. On the main strategic display, a single green icon, the identifier for the fast reconnaissance aircraft Blackbird 1, flickered. Its IFF transponder code dissolved and reformed. For 3 heartbeats, it was marked as a hostile bogey. A low alarm chirped. An operator cursed. "System glitch!" Before anyone could respond, a wave of distortion rippled across the entire screen. Dozens of friendly icons, fighter patrols, tanker aircraft, naval vessels, blinked out of existence. In their place, a terrifying new reality materialized. A massive, coordinated enemy air raid. Hundreds of crimson blips materialized from the east, streaking toward the heart of Europe. The system had been hijacked. It was now showing a phantom invasion. Panic was a physical force in the bunker. But Anya's blood had turned to ice. Her eyes were locked on a single, silent command that flashed on a secondary monitor. A system-wide query. Its destination. Every silo, every command post linked to the NATO nuclear arsenal. The message was sterile and horrifying. "Confirm status. God's Head Protocol." The room was too chaotic for anyone else to see it. The query lasted only 5 seconds before vanishing. The main radar screen snapped back to normal. The phantom invasion was gone. The senior commander let out a tense laugh. "A damn drill within a drill! Soviets must be jamming us." But Anya was already moving. She knew it was no drill. It was a scalpel. Someone had just performed a live fire test and tapped on the door of the apocalypse. The elegance, the audacity. It was a signature she knew from classified dossiers. A ghost named Orpheus. Her report was met with cold dismissal, a systems anomaly, stress of the exercise. She was told to stand down, but the image of that God's Head query was burned into her mind. She needed someone who understood the architecture of the abyss. There was only one man. The penitentiary smelled of bleach and despair. Leo Markov was led into the interrogation room in shackles. He was all sharp intelligence and simmering contempt. Anya slid a single sheet of paper across the metal table. 0 rare IFF spoof. Asset SR-71, 0003, radar override, false flag invasion, 0047. System query, God's Head Protocol. Duration, 5 seconds. Leo's eyes scanned the page. The cynical smile vanished. His face grew pale. He looked up at her, and she saw genuine fear in his eyes. "This is Orpheus," he whispered. "He wasn't testing your defenses. He was learning the weight of your keys. He just showed you he can sit in the president's chair. The next time he visits, he won't be knocking." He leaned forward, the chains on his wrists clinking. "You have no idea what you're chasing. You need a different kind of weapon." "I need you," Anya said, her voice absolute. Leo gave a slow, grim nod. The hunter and the convict were now bound together. The safe house was a sterile box. The tension between Anya and Leo was electric. He saw the world as a flawed system. She saw it as a structure to be protected. He demanded raw system access. She provided only filtered data streams. His analysis confirmed her deepest fear. The attack was a key. Orpheus had used a stolen cryptographic seed to be recognized as a friendly administrator. He had walked through the front door. "This wasn't a hack," Leo said, pulling up lines of code. It was an impersonation. He was mapping the nervous system. The God's head query was him tapping the spinal cord. The implications were still settling when a news bulletin flickered on the television. An American communications satellite had suddenly veered from its orbit. For 3 minutes, it pointed away from Europe towards empty space before correcting itself. Official statements blamed a solar flare. Leo cross-referenced the satellite's designation with the attack logs. His face went slack with horror. "It's not a map," he whispered. "It's a calibration. He's building a shadow, a perfect digital doppelganger of your command network. He's going to perform a man-in-the-middle attack on a scale that's never been attempted. When the real order comes to stand down, his system will intercept it. And in its place, it will inject a launch order. He doesn't want to break your sword. He wants to turn it around and point it at your own throat." The sheer audacity of the plan filled the room. As if summoned by their discovery, the lights in the safe house died. Through the window, they saw the rest of the building's lights were still on. They were compromised. Anya moved first, her service pistol appearing in her hand. She shoved a backup hard drive into Leo's hands. "Do not let this fall into their hands." The door exploded inwards. Dark figures moved with brutal efficiency. Suppressed gunfire spat through the doorway. This was a capture. Anya returned fire, forcing the lead attacker back. She grabbed Leo, shoving him towards a secondary service exit. They burst out into a cold, damp alley, the sounds of shouting close behind. They had uncovered the true scope of the nightmare, and in doing so had been severed from the very system they were trying to save. The abandoned textile factory was a cathedral of decay. The fear from the safe house matured into a deep, chilling dread. "We can't contact Langley," Anya stated. "The breach is total." Leo was fixed on his portable terminal. "The code, it's elegant. But there's a rhythm. Almost musical." Anya paced, her mind racing. The digital attack. The physical ambush. The connection felt incomplete. She mentally scrolled through classified Soviet operations. And then it clicked. A single buried file, codenamed Ketchum. She stopped dead. It was never just about the code. She turned to Leo. "Ketchum, 1986. An exercise. The opposition force used saboteurs to infiltrate and capture a pivotal airbase. The fight was so brutal the report was sealed. They exposed a fatal flaw." Her eyes widened. Ketchum was the field test, a live-fire exercise in physical takeover. What we're facing now, this is Ketchum 2.0. They aren't sending saboteurs and trucks. They're sending them through the telephone lines. The target isn't one airbase. It's the entire NATO command. The realization hung in the air. They weren't chasing a hacker. They were fighting the culmination of a long-term military strategy. Driven by this, Leo isolated a subroutine in the attack code. It was a tiny loop, a marker, a tag. "It's a frequency, a homing signal." Before he could elaborate, the terminal emitted a sharp ping. A single line of text appeared. "An interesting hypothesis, Captain Shaw. The scalpel is ready. The patient is on the table." The message vanished. Orpheus had been in the room with them. The hard drive was a beacon. From outside, the sound of car doors slamming echoed with terrifying finality. The shadow of Ketchum had found them. Headlights painted bars of light across the grimy floor. Boots crunched on gravel. They were trapped. Anya's mind discarded fight or flight. She snatched the hard drive and sprinted deeper into the factory, towards a disused hydroelectric turbine. With a powerful heave, she threw the drive into the grinding gears, a shriek of metal, a shower of sparks, and the signal died. They had blinded Orpheus. She pulled Leo into the storm drain system. They were ghosts. For 24 hours they moved through shadows. Huddled in a drainage culvert, the truth was inescapable. They couldn't stop the attack. Orpheus's shadow was a cancer within the host. Leo stared into the darkness. We can't fight the virus. The immune system will attack us. Then we don't fight the virus, Anya said. We give the body a new set of instructions. We use the infection. The plan formed in the stark clarity of survival. We changed the payload. The idea was brilliant and suicidal. A digital Trojan horse. They would write a parasitic worm. It would hide within Orpheus's system. The moment he transmitted his launch command, their worm would activate, swapping it for a global abort and secure command. It's a scalpel, Leo whispered. We use his own scalpel to perform the surgery. But we need a sterile operating room, Anya countered. A place so old it doesn't exist on any network map. Leo's eyes lit up. The Teufelsberg Relay, a Cold War-era communications bunker. The landlines are still there, dormant. A direct, physical tap. Orpheus won't see it because it hasn't pulsed in 50 years. The plan was set. A surgical strike into the past to save the future. The Teufelsberg Relay was a tomb. They moved through pitch-black corridors by flashlight, finding the main communications hall, a cavernous space of dead switchboards. As Leo pried open a maintenance shaft to access the live landline, a voice echoed through the hall. The architects of this place understood permanence, concrete and copper. Lights flickered on. A man stood there, flanked by armed operatives. Orpheus. "You are too late," he said, his voice cold and clinical. "The injection sequence has begun. In approximately 4 minutes, the world will witness a limited, tactical nuclear exchange, a necessary reset." Leo was already in the shaft, splicing his terminal into the cable, uploading the Trojan horse. Orpheus sighed. "You are attempting to perform heart surgery with a rock." He nodded to an operative. The shot was deafening. But it was Anya who fired first, striking the operative in the shoulder. The firefight was short, brutal. Anya used server racks as cover, buying seconds. Orpheus turned to his device. The digital takeover was his priority. Inside the shaft, Leo was fighting his own war. Alerts flashed. The shadow system was hunting his intrusion. Anya took a shot to the arm. The pain cleared her mind. She saw the main power conduit, old and frayed. She raised her pistol and fired twice. A blinding arc of electricity exploded from the cable, frying circuits, blowing out the lights. For a single critical second, every system died. In that universal blackout, Leo's screen rebooted. The shadow system's defenses had reset. It was the opening he needed. His fingers flew. The Trojan horse was delivered. The lights sputtered back on. Orpheus stared at his device. The sequence was running. But something was wrong. On his screen, the command launch authorization, confirmed, flashed. Across the world, systems came to life on the brink. And then, the command changed. The target coordinates dissolved. The message that propagated through the entire network was one of absolute termination. Launch authorization revoked. Protocol. Global safety. All systems. Safe. All units. Stand down. A cascade of abort signals flooded the network. The threat was neutralized by being turned into its own cure. Orpheus looked up from his dead screen. He offered no final words. He turned and vanished into the shadows. In the silence, Leo crawled out of the shaft. He found Anya leaning against a console, clutching her bleeding arm. They were battered, exhausted, and alive. Weeks later, in a clean office at Langley, they were hailed as heroes. The public would never know how close it had come. That night they stood on a balcony overlooking a city bathed in peaceful lights. Leo finally broke the silence. He used a scalpel. We used a virus. We didn't win. We just infected the system with a different kind of disease. A lie. Anya didn't look at him, her gaze fixed on the horizon. It's the only kind of peace we get. The patient survived the surgery, but the cancer is still in there. She turned to him, her eyes hard and unyielding. The operation is over. The war is just beginning.